Hey, what's up everybody? It's Axel, and today we're going to be talking about the FiiO FP3. Now, this is a single planar driver IM from FiiO. I believe it costs $89, around that price. So let's talk about it. The different thing about this IM is that FiiO developed this driver in-house, so it's not like the other planars, which I keep reading online, people saying, oh, it's the same driver in a different housing, you know? So let's see what this IM is all about. So in terms of the box, this is the box it comes with. There are two available colors. This one is called the walnut, and there is a lighter color which I have, which is called the rosewood. In terms of the accessories, you get this case, which is very unique looking. These are not actually holes, like they're sealed. So, you know, I don't know if I will walk around outside with this, but on the desk, I guess it's nice to store ear tips and IMs and stuff like that. It has this nice texture. In terms of the IM itself, it comes with this cable, which is actually very nice. It has some slight memory, but doesn't tangle with me. No microphonics, but it has this rubbery feeling, kinda. So anyway, it works in practice, and the chin slider works. So I have no complaints when it comes to that. Now, in terms of the IM itself, this is the design, and this is how it looks like. So this is the rosewood color. It's kind of circular, and then if we flip it like that, you notice this edge right here. And usually this has no problem at all when I'm wearing it. But the other thing that I want to talk about is this angled nozzle. I've had no issues with it personally. It kind of looks worse than it feels. It doesn't feel like anything, because when you fit it in, it kind of fits. But I understand if you're someone who wants a very deep fit with your IMs. I got a deep fit with this because I use ear tips. You know, it worked fine. But if you want like a super deep fit, this kind of stands against your ear. So keep that in mind. Like, you know, like if I put it like this is how it goes in my ear. And this rests gently kind of next to my ear. I don't feel it, honestly. And I'm getting a good fit with it. The nozzle diameter is actually 6.1 millimeters, which is on the average side, and you get a vent. So you know, fit and comfort, I have no issues with it. I think it's nice. And let's talk about the sound. Let's bring on the frequency response graph. And first thing you notice, this is a very unique tuning, and I have to say this is a very unique tuning. This is not the tuning that you see on a lot of IMs. And if I have to describe this one, I will say bassy, bright V-shaped at the same time. And that's the thing with the tuning, right? Bass, lots of bass, and some brightness in the lower treble at least. And let's start, you know, I will start talking about all of them at once. First of all, I just have to say, like, this IM, when you listen to something, usually you have to like take in all the frequency response at the same time, right? Your ear hears all of them. So I will start with the bass, okay? Before I talk about a lot of things about it, I just want to say first, the quality of the bass is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. You get that planar speed, and you get a good slam, and it's still very detailed with excellent texture. Bass quality itself is absolutely fantastic. You get a sub bass, you get that mid bass, and it's absolutely fast. And you know, the level itself is not for bass heads, but it's still very bassy, all right? And that mid bass, that meaty type of mid bass, is absolutely there. Now, when we move on to the mid range, here is where things start to get interesting. The mid bass kind of like, you know, overwhelms a lot of the mid range, and it kind of, you know, intrudes into that mid range area. And if you look at 1 to 3K, you know, it's not exactly a bit forward in that range. It kind of like peaks at around 3K or so. So the mid bass here kind of overwhelms things, and you know, some of the vocals start to feel a bit overwhelmed, start to feel a bit covered at times. And if I talk about the vocals itself, you see a pattern here that's very interesting. The 1 to 3K area is a bit on the relaxed side, you know, and the positive aspect of that is that this IM will never sound shouty to you, although it has, like, you know, a respectful amount of pin again, around 3K. But there's a dip after that. So you don't get, you know, shoutiness or fatigue or anything. You can actually raise the volume, and it's absolutely fine. But the thing is, the vocals here kind of sound thick, right? The note weight is a bit on the thick side, and the bass kind of overpowers a lot of things. And for example, electric guitars, clean acoustic guitars, clean electric guitars, male vocals, female vocals kind of sound covered. Like, you feel there is the bass is louder, right? And that makes you feel sometimes that you want to raise the volume to kind of, hear the vocals with more clarity. And what happens is the bass gets even higher when you raise the volume, and it kind of is stronger, and it's taking a first, or front row seat to the sound. So this is not exactly an IM that I would describe as having a lot of vocal clarity. And I want to be clear about that part. But there are things that are trying to counteract that. For example, the bass is fast. It doesn't have that, super long decay. So, it's still intruding, but it's still controlled at the same time. You get the excellent technicalities that you get with this IM, which is absolutely fantastic. So you still get, that resolving ability of the IM in the mid-range. And of course, the lower treble is a bit on the bright side, so it's trying to balance that bass. So it's not exactly going to sound, super muddy. But I have to say, still, at the end of the day, with all these things taken into consideration, it still sounds a bit on the covered side. It's not exactly an IM that I would describe as having, vocal, lots of vocal clarity. No, I'm not getting that. I'm getting a bass that's stronger than the vocals, and it covers the vocals. That's how I would describe it. A lot of especially the male vocals and the, let's say, acoustic guitars, like cellos, violins, these things, some piano notes even sound a bit covered. Moving on to the treble, we get a very interesting pattern here. Lower treble is kind of emphasized on the bright side, right? And I would say some sibilance is there, but, I would say, most of the time the S letter is emphasized, but the sibilance, I would say, is very controlled. And if you look here, you'll find another pattern, like the upper treble is way more reserved. And if you look at the bass balance is, way more of that treble. So it's not exactly, I agree, the lower treble is on the bright side, but the other aspects of it, I will shock people right now and say, I think it could benefit from some upper air or treble, just a slight boost, just to give it a sparkle. I agree the lower treble is emphasized, but that upper treble is kind of controlled and reserved, at least on my set, on my graph, that you can see right here on the screen. And overall, if you look at the whole frequency response, you get a very unique sound presentation. You get that super strong bass, not super strong for bass head level, but it kind of overwhelms a lot of the frequencies that you see on the graph. Mid-range is a bit controlled in terms of the lower mid-range. The lower mid-range and, even some parts of the upper mid-range sound warm, sound a bit thick, and maybe even a bit covered. And then you get that dip after 3K, around 4K. So you don't get, lots of sibilance, but still the lower treble is trying to emphasize some of the details, some of the micro details. And then the upper treble is a bit more reserved. So it's a very unique signature, right? You get this V shape that's leaning on the bright side, but still doesn't sound sparkly at the same time. Can you guys get what I'm saying here? Warm mid-range, thick note weight, good bass, right? Slightly bright, lower treble, but not a lot of upper treble. So how to describe that sound? You guys tell me. In terms of timbre, some planar timbre, of course, because it's a planar driver, and you notice that here. Another thing is the technicalities, and this is one area I think the FiiO FP3 performs excellent here, right? It has excellent level of detail and resolution. We're talking about amazing here. For the price, amazing. And it sounds even better than more expensive IMs and planars. I think this one is a champ when it comes to the technicalities. Soundstage is nice as well. Imaging is actually pretty impressive. This is another aspect that you get with this IM. And with that said, let's do our comparison here. So I'll start first with this one. This is the... what is that? The Zos Lure Z12, right? So when you listen to these, they are completely different. I used to love these a long time ago, even though they're very bright, and I always felt like that man coming after this FiiO FP3, like, oof, this one is way too bright. Comparison, at least with the FP3. So we're talking about a cleaner bass. And not only that, the bass, is not there to balance all that excess treble and even some excess upper mid-range energy. So you get, more upper mid-range on the Z12. You get more lower treble. You get more upper treble and lower bass at the same time. So it's kind of different sound here. In terms of detail and resolution, I feel the FP3 is similar, if not slightly more detailed, or it has, at the very least, maybe I will give it the edge in terms of detail, but I will say it's a bit more, it has a bit more separation. And part of, the reason why this happens is because if you listen to something like the Z12, when you listen to some IM that has, leaning on the bright side like that, the treble could get like kind of gritty, and that brightness in the tonality kind of overshadows some of the finer elements in the music. You start to feel that brightness is covering some of the details, right? Things are sounding bright, so you're not exactly able to listen to the finer details, and this is an area where I think the FP3 pulls right ahead in. That's kind of thing. Both of these are not exactly balanced sound signatures, to be completely fair. And there's that. So let me talk about another one, which is the timeless. In terms of just resolution and detail, I would say I would give the timeless here the advantage. I think the timeless is a bit more detailed as well. Separation slightly, but maybe, I'm not sure, it's kind of close, and that's shocking considering the price of the FP3. But if you look at the graph, maybe part of that detail I'm hearing is because of the tuning, because you basically get a bit less mid-bass, so you get a bit more vocal clarity, especially when you look at the mid-range and how it's tuned. The timeless gives you a bit more of that forwardness in the mid-range. Has a bit more air as well, has that upper treble I was talking about that's not there with the FP3, but it still has a bit more lower treble, kinda. So there are some sounds that are emphasized on the timeless. Like I was listening to Billie Eilish, Bad Guy, and those finger snaps were a bit more emphasized on the timeless, where they were completely fine on the FP3. So there is definitely a better element of clarity I'm getting with the timeless, maybe a bit more detail, maybe vocals or instruments sound more correct, but it costs even more than double the size of the FP3, the price of the FP3, and just to be able to compete, man, it's completely different. So at the end of the day, where does this leave us? I think the FP3 has a lot of good qualities, like for the price, honestly, for a planar and stuff like that. I think it has a few interesting qualities, let's say that. But to be completely honest, also that it has a few qualities that I didn't like that bass that overwhelms the mid-range is not exactly something awesome. That upper mid-range tuning, could get a bit more vocal clarity. The treble could be smoother, could be more balanced. This is a case of an IM that gives you lots of detail that punches away above the price point. And if you use it with EQ, you could get much better result, at least in my personal opinion, for my taste. But I think maybe some people will like this tuning, and they can enjoy it. That's it, guys. That's my review of the FiiO FP3 planar. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section. If you have any question, leave it down below. And until the next time, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.